Marvel Rivals dropped their very first player versus environment or PvE game mode, and it is a shallow, boring, glitchy, mind-numbing mess. They announced it on October 17th to mixed reactions. The prospect of a PvE mode, especially since Overwatch had promised theirs years ago with little to show for it, was exciting. The actual gameplay shown, however, looked extremely unpolished. It still seemed like the community was willing to give it a shot, and I was definitely part of this camp. Customizing your character, killing zombies, and fighting bosses could be a fun time. I hopped in right as it dropped on the 23rd, and it is horrendous. But before getting into the long list of issues I have with it, I've got a few things they actually did well. First off, you obviously don't need to play the mode. I mean, if I didn't care about the rewards, I definitely wouldn't. Speaking of which, the rewards are nice. You have the potential to get a solid amount of units and some dope titles. Having free rewards up for grabs is always nice, whether the mode is buns or not. The visual designs for the bosses are also pretty cool. We got Zombie Namor and Wanda. Nice designs. Could make some great skins. And the last positive, the concepts for ability customization are pretty neat. You can go perma Darkchild on Magic, get an auto-firing turret on Punisher, turn into a literal Beyblade, and more. Playing as familiar characters with these over-the-top customizations could have been so much fun. But it isn't. The zombies aren't fun to fight. There's very little feedback other than hit reg sounds, and they are way too tanky. Your attacks feel like you're slapping them with a pool noodle. It's super unsatisfying. Plus, they aren't different enough to be challenging on their own. The only thing that you need to worry about, other than making direct contact with them, is the occasional area that you need to avoid. The green guys throw a goopy area that does a bunch of damage, and the red boys explode when they die. The bosses aren't any better either. Namor's fight has two phases. You kill a bunch of squids in the first one, which is just as lame as the crowds of zombies, and on the second you attack the big man himself. Other than that, you're just avoiding areas. For Wanda, you've got three phases. She attacks with her primary, and some secondary burst thingies, occasionally throwing out her stun zones. Then she goes into shield mode and tanks a bunch of damage while sending out even more stun zones and big bursts of stupid, unavoidable damage. And the final phase is the lamest. She starts charging up a big crazy ult. You have a certain amount of time to kill her, otherwise she wipes out your team and you lose. After playing for 10, 15, 30 minutes, if your team doesn't have enough damage, you just lose and get nothing. Your team can shoot these crystal thingies to increase your time, which basically guarantees that you win, but that's just a knowledge check. If you get unlucky and your team doesn't know that, then congrats. Your time is wasted. But either way, that's the entire depth of the game mode, and it only becomes less interesting. As you move on to harder modes, nothing changes other than making the enemies tankier and more excruciating to fight. The first three levels have the exact same layout, where you move from place to place, and the last three are a single big square. But what about the upgrades? The ability upgrades are neat, but can make gameplay even more basic. I've been playing a bunch of Magic, with the infinite Darkchild form, and some bonus spins. All you do is spin and deal a bajillion damage. In basically every game I've played, a Magic with these upgrades deals the most damage by far. But god damn, this shit is mind-numbing. For most, if not every hero, all I see them do is build the same thing every time, because there's an obviously best path, and hold down their fire button for the entire game, which sucks more than just being boring, because after playing this awful mode, I'm in physical pain. It's like when writing a fat essay and your hand starts cramping up from holding your pencil. The reason for this is because you're holding down the fire button forever, and the harder levels last like 45 minutes. I mean, the literal fastest in the world for the hardest level is 40 minutes. So it's inevitable that your hand is gonna feel like shit. This mode gives out carpal tunnel like I give out cigarettes to the homeless. So everyone runs the same ability upgrades. And by the way, you should definitely just play Magic to finish this garbage as fast as possible. But what about the in-game upgrades? They've got to be interesting, right? I mean, you've got options for exactly what you want to get, but generally you just spam by one of the hero exclusive paths and the universal purple ones. They feel boring as hell to obtain. The only thing that feels impactful is when you eventually get either 20, 60, or 120 of either of the hero exclusives, and you get a special little upgrade. But even then, I only ever noticed one of them on Magic. This game mode is an absolute slog, and the only reason I'd ever play it is for these bum-ass titles. If you want to play some brain-off game that actually gives you some feedback, some dopamine, then just go play some good version of it. Vampire Survivors is actually fun, and it's only $6. Or if you like that 3D vibe, then I hear this Mega Bonk game is pretty fun. And it's so obvious that the main motivation for them making this zombie mode slop is to promote their show. It's so lazy they couldn't even make it operate right. There's no polish. Zombies just pop into existence in the sky and drop down. Plus, sometimes at the end of rounds, the zombies just don't come out, leaving you waiting, twiddling your thumbs until they randomly decide it's time to let you end the wave. I was sitting here forever with these bozos trying to figure out how to kill the zombies behind this wall. I'm so glad that they named it Nightmare Mode, because it definitely is one. Shout out to this Jeff for glitching to stay alive for 45 minutes straight, while my team racks up an unbelievable amount of deaths, since in the hardest mode, literally everything one-shots you, and we lose the game anyways. GG. Thank you for this garbage game mode, netties. Subscribe for a puppy.